fun, excited to be
Good
here.
surprise.
Oh,
Excited
Dave
about
Feller was here, I
Jamie
would have
joining
bowed
us.
out immediately.
Okay, friends, just so you guys-
Dave's only gonna stay here till 6:10,
And
so you only have to put up with
prior
him for so
commitment,
long.
yeah, prior commitment.
Yeah, something about grandchildren, I don't know.
Correct. Hey, I have proof. The proof is my wife let me drive her car because that has the car seat in it.
Okay. We're
You have to, sorry,
recording.
we're recording. We are now live on Zoom and on YouTube.
I will call the meeting to order. Nice to see everybody. We may have one other member. I haven't heard from Nick, but I'm going to get us started. And the first thing we're going to do is introductions because I'm very excited that we have two new members. And so I thought maybe we would go around the table, the members first, introduce ourselves, and then you guys can introduce yourselves once you've gotten a sense of everybody's here. Great. Hi, you must be Nick.
Yes, I am.
Hey, nice to meet you. All right.
Hey, Nick.
So we just called the meeting to order and we're going to do introductions, a round of introductions because we have two new members. So we'll start with the committee. I'll go first. I'm Jack Ruderman. I'm committee chair. I've been on the committee since its inception. I live in Kentucky Village. In my day job, I work at New Hampshire Housing and I do a lot of legislative work at the state level, but also some with our congressional delegation. And I also serve on the town's energy committee. Oh, so that's me.
Hi, I'm Dawn Beery, and I've been part of the committee since the beginning. I represent the Human Services Advisory Committee.
I'm Tricia Warren. I've been with the committee since its inception. I am the very happily former chair of the committee. And excuse me, in my real life, I own Target Homes right here in Hopkinton.
Catherine Mitchell. I'm a retired educator. I've also been here from the beginning. And I was appointed to the slot that comes from the perspective of protection of natural resources, not representing any other committee or commission, but just that perspective.
Hi, Dean Owens. I am on the Housing Committee for the planning. I haven't been here since the beginning, but I'm here. That's it. That's it.
Dean,
Huh?
what do you do?
For work or just in general? I work at a company in Boston, but I don't go to Boston anymore. I get to drive to Bedford, which is really nice. So that's all I got.
Dave Feller, I have been on the committee since the inception also. I am a longing to retire business efficiency consultant. I'm almost there. And I am also on the CIP committee,
Which stands for?
capital improvement plan.
Awesome. Jamie?
Jamie Frederiss. I've been on the committee 4 minutes.
Seems like a lifetime.
Feels like a lifetime. And my wife Vanessa and I live here in Hopkinton, over in Hopkins Green. And we've been residents of Hopkinton since 2017. I am the Senior Vice President, Residential Lending Officer for New Hampshire Mutual Bank Corp., which is the holding company for Merrimack County Savings Bank, Savings Bank of Walpole, as well as Meredith Village Savings Bank and New Hampshire Trust. And I run residential for all associated enterprises. And very excited to be part of this. I spend a lot of time in the communities and housing. I'm also the chair of the New Hampshire Bankers Association Residential Lending Committee. As well, I do a lot of other things in different committees too, around nationally and locally. So
Welcome.
Very, very excited.
You work with Matt at Merrimack County? Isn't there a?
Most days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Matt Thomas?
he helped us when we first got into town many years ago, so I still keep in touch.
Yeah, no, Matt
Nice guy.
Thomas is one of our oldest
Yeah.
loan officers, tenured loan officers in
Yeah.
for Merrimack, and he's an incredible talent. Yeah, I'm privileged to work with him as well.
Yeah.
He reports to vice president of sales that reports through me, but I usually hear about the ones that need my help.
Yeah, no, I've used him for things outside of New Hampshire, so he's great.
Yeah, he's great. No, he's a true pro. Most definitely. That's great to hear.
Alyssa McCann, I am the liaison to the select board. I'm in my first term on the select board, entering year 2. And then on top of being the liaison to the housing committee, I'm also select board liaison to the planning board. And then outside of here, I own Witching Hour Coffee and Provisions in Kentucky. I'm a coffee roaster by day, make a lot of our own products. And also the mom to a 6-year-old Owen, who takes up the other 200% of my time.
Hi, I'm Norm Gupel. I've lived in town since 2006. I'm new to legislation, but I've been school board for 6 years. Currently, right now, I am the treasurer of the water precinct here in Pawtucket. I'm also one of the founding members of the Hopkinton Runners Society and also their treasurer.
Hopkinton what society?
Hopkinton Runners Society. We are a nonprofit that we created last year, and we're the ones that are responsible for all those races over at the fairgrounds.
Oh, cool.
So we're Division 1, 2, and 3 come here, and also high school, middle school state championships are here. So it brings a lot of business to town, which is really great to see.
Nice.
I am representing the Economic Development Committee. So last night in the meeting, they needed someone to be a part of this, and I was very excited to join that. And I saw the members on here, and very excited to learn from all of you and give back more time to the town and give you a perspective and hope. So thank you for having me here as part of your committee.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm Nick Casolaro. This is my second meeting. I'm representing, I guess, the Hopkinton Village precinct. So I live across the street. If anybody's looking for me, you know where to find me. And I've been the chair of the Hopkinton Village Precinct Commissioners for several years now, at least 5 years, probably longer. And outside of that, I work for New Hampshire Ball Bearings as corporate counsel. I'm a lawyer by trade.
All right. Wonderful. We have a meaty agenda. So let's dig right in. We'll move on to the draft meeting minutes from April 2nd, which we didn't approve last time because some people hadn't seen them when they were circulated, embedded as a link in the agenda. And then May 7th was our last meeting. I know that at least one member has some suggested changes to some of the minutes. I think we should consider them each as separate items. And once, we've got a motion and a second, then we can have discussion and people can offer up changes or comments, whatever. So, do we have a motion to adopt the minutes of April 2nd, 2026?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second?
Yep, second.
Okay. Discussion. Mr. Feller.
So on May 20th, I sent out one suggested comment and a question. On the first one, want me to read the whole thing, or do people already know it?
No. So let's
Okay.
go through them one item at a time.
Okay, on the second page,
This is the April 2nd meetings.
April 2nd,
Okay.
where it states, Mr. Feller raised concerns about ensuring the select board is aligned with the committee's annual plan to avoid work being deprioritized by the planning board. I want to change that to say, Mr. Feller raised concerns about ensuring the select board is aligned with the committee's mission and its annual plan to avoid conflicts in the future with the select board, as well as the potential for deprioritizing by the planning board members.
I think that's a very reasonable change. I might just change deprioritized to deprioritization, but just because of grammar, but otherwise fundamentally.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have all the verbiage?
Yep.
Because I couldn't write it all down
I
that
do have.
fast. Okay. Okay, so that's one. Anybody else have any comments or opposition to that change? Okay, great.
Okay, second one was really a question. And it was under the other section where it said the reviewed video to still unclear as the actual intention. And my question was, if that review took place after the meeting, we either have to scratch it or at least note that upon review after the meeting, this was determined.
I 100% agree with you. At the time, I had put it in because in my brain, I was like, I had said, I will look at this. I looked at this and it was this hole in the meeting minutes where I was supposed to have an answer and I didn't have an
Yep.
answer.
No, I think
And
it's
so
probably
I'm
good to
open
leave it
to
in there, but maybe we just note it.
Add some additional language saying like, after the meeting concluded, additional review was done. And in which case, would that stay embedded in the meeting minutes or be like an addendum at the end?
No, I would put it in italics or something like that.
It can
Right
be
in-
Maybe
right in the
brackets,
minutes.
maybe if it. it's
Something
just
that
brackets,
makes it much
like a-
clearer that it happened
Yeah.
outside of the meeting, but I
Yeah.
think that's very,
Mhm.
it's very
Okay,
reasonable.
everybody else
That's
good
it.
with that? Okay, great.
Any
That's
other
it.
changes
That's it.
folks want to know
Okay.
from that date
That's my motion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
or edits?
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
Me too. I wasn't here.
I wasn't here, so.
Okay.
One
Three
quick,
folks
okay,
abstaining.
I have Norm, Jamie, Dawn. Anyone else abstaining?
Yes, you abstain.
Wait,
Yeah.
Jamie, yeah. Norm, Jamie, Dawn.
Interestingly, I just came across an article recently which said, technically, you do not have to abstain if you weren't here. You are allowed to vote in favor of minutes. I don't do that and I don't recommend it, but it
Right.
was kind of interesting to me
Yeah.
that legally one can, which seems kind of crazy. All right. That said, let's move on to the second set of minutes.
So
and-
Jack, don't we have to, that was
Oh.
an approval of the amendments. Do we have to approve the minutes now?
Again?
I think you can retroactively amend your motion to say the minutes as
Amended.
amended. Do we-
Okay.
I will.
All in
vote
favor?
yes, Yeah.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Same three. Okay. All right. But yeah, no, good point. All right. Do we have a motion to adopt minutes of May 7th?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion.
I got two more on this one, but
Okay.
the first one is just a question of whether we should put in the minutes that Dawn did say that she contacted Dunbarton, but did not get information to report. Something like, Mrs. Berry contacted Dunbarton, but did not receive the information she was seeking. Okay, just so it's in there, so that we know.
Or truthfully, she didn't know how to put it together. That's the truth.
And then the second amendment was in reference to.
Can we just say, well, I'm sorry, before we finish that, can we
Yep.
just say Dunbarton, Ms. Berry is continuing to research
Sure.
the
No,
matter or whatever, because you were still looking into it, right?
but they don't know how to pare it down. And you gave me the information
Right.
off their site, but the woman in the planning board, planning department does not know how to break that down to answer our question.
Okay, so how would you like it to be phrased? Ms. Berry,
I refined it. I refined the information. How's that? Because I sent it in to you.
but that was after this meeting.
Right.
At this
So I was
meeting,
refining the
or did-
information.
at the meeting, you said you would do further research,
Yeah. that's
something,
fine.
something.
So
Ms. Berry contacted Dunbarton, but delayed the report to the committee until further information was.
Until Dave showed me how to use Copilot.
Alyssa, you have something that makes sense out of that?
I mean, what I'm taking away is that Dawn's work on Dunbarton is not mentioned in the minutes, and it needs to be represented, and it should be represented that Miss Berry gathered a plethora of information that needed to be distilled.
Perfect.
So,
Great.
okay.
Everybody good with that? Okay.
And the second question is more of a question. It had reference to the EDC that Amanda Gilman is transitioning off the EDC. The question was she transitioning off or had she transitioned off?
I have no
He
idea.
had transitioned off because this fell after the select board meeting.
Yeah, it was,
Where it was
she was already
announced.
off. It
Yeah.
wasn't like she didn't show up
Right.
to our meeting. It was just,
I found out that she was transitioning off at this meeting, and
Okay.
I brought it to the select board 2 days later. So I am naming, like, from my perspective, I was like, oh, this is happening in real time. And I think adjusting it to had is A-okay.
okay. I'll leave it up to you to determine what tense.
I'm already making some
Yeah.
edits. I can do that.
Okay,
Wait, so what change will you make?
Changing is to has.
Okay.
right.
All right. Any other suggested edits, changes? Further discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
It's one thing on stuff that Dawn's working on. She said he gave it to you, so it's not gonna be at this meeting brought up. Maybe yes, maybe no. I'm just trying to, if we talk about making the reach out to Dunbarton known to everybody, right?
Yes.
And that Dawn's still working on it, or you're working on it, or whatever, that it's a future topic or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I mean, we can even get to that when we get down to the planning board meeting, number 5 on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So can I revise my motion?
Yes,
As amended?
yes, thank you. All right. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
Keep those hands raised. Okay.
Well,
Norm, Nick, Trisha, Jamie. Okay, I got 4 people. Thank you, guys.
I said aye.
Okay. Awesome. All right, so now we're going to move on to an interesting item, which is proposed revisions to the committee's charter. I think that genesis of this is that Dave looked on the website and reviewed the charter that is posted there for the Housing Committee and felt that it was in need of revision and update. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
So I'm going to let you talk to this, speak to this.
Yeah, I mean, we
Your-
talked
yeah.
about this at a couple of different meetings, so I don't want to be a bit repetitive. I was charged last meeting with kind of putting some notes together for this meeting to review today, which I did. Passed it on to Jack. He had much better language than I had, which is what you see here. But basically, this is what we see as our charge going forward, and I just want to make sure it's consistent with what everybody's on the committee's expectation is, as well as the select.
But to be clear, it's not just that first paragraph.
Oh, no,
There are more changes throughout that, right? You did some
correct,
bunch of other stuff.
correct.
So I don't know, do you want to sort of walk us through those changes?
Sure. Well, the first thing is we revised the number of members on the committee.
Yep.
And then I took out the initial appointments, which is past tense. It really isn't pertinent anymore.
I had a question on that one. One of the sentences, voting members shall serve 3-year staggered terms. Is that for non-consecutive or?
Well, staggered is that they don't all go away at the same time. And that's why in the first year, some members were appointed to 1 or 2 or 3-year term. So that every year there was, 2 new positions on the board. That's what they're calling the staggered.
Okay.
So that doesn't even need to be in there anymore because they'll automatically be staggered.
Correct.
And are there term limits, or is it something that can be reappointed?
There's not, but we can discuss that.
Well, no.
Dave, how long you been on here for? No,
20 minutes in, I'm looking for term limits, right? Just point of clarification.
So Tricia, are you saying we should just take out the word stagger?
I think.
I am, because it's not applicable at this point.
Okay.
That's part of the
Yeah, I
original
think that's,
charge.
I think it's good, appropriate, yeah. Got the word stagger.
Great.
Yeah. So the big issue here is the actual reporting. And it said in here originally that we were supposed to create a plan of work and submit it to the select board. I wanted to put a date in there so that we're all clear on when it should be done, and the date to me should be consistent with the calendar that the planning board was looking for as well. So that's why I suggested adding March 1st of the year.
I fundamentally agree with the idea. I'm mindful that that is about a week before town meeting date. And so it might be the submission date, but I do not think that you can set the approval date.
Oh, right.
And recognize that something submitted in late February or early March will likely not be addressed until mid to late April, just because of the workflow of what's happening at that time. I also just note that that is also the time of reappointments. And so in theory, a previous committee would be setting the agenda for the incoming committee if there was changeover. So might it make sense to bump it to after town meeting when reappointments are done? Just so that like it's the current body setting the
I'm
work.
not fixed on the date, other than, like I said, I thought that was where I was trying to align it with what the needs of the planning board were. But
Can we just change the wording to say presented to the planning board for approval by March 1st? That doesn't.
You mean select board?
I'm sorry, select board. That doesn't suggest when they have to approve it, it just suggests when we have to have it submitted.
And to Alyssa's point, I would almost consider May 1st, because that is the new term of anyone who may be new to the select board or to the committee and or the chair.
I like that. Let's let it presented to the select board for approval.
And the only reason I really like May 1st, as opposed to March 1st, because I think future committees looking at this may have an expectation of a faster turnaround if there isn't that inherent understanding that you're going to submit it, but you're not going to hear back for 6 weeks. And that could create a lot of frustration for a committee in the future.
I think that's a good idea.
Yep.
Having May 1st.
And you had suggested May 1st?
Yes. Because the town meeting doesn't happen until towards the end of, I said, March. And then anyone new being appointed is coming in April. And so that very first discussion would likely happen in April. It could even be a
It's fine, just recognize
submission,
then
but-
that the committee really will be doing nothing then for 4 or 5 months.
The committee can still be working.
The idea here is to have the new board, the new appointees opining on the plan. Okay, then you don't want to start really discussing the plan until the new appointees are there, which would mean that we've already submitted the plan for the current year to the planning board. And now we're putting the plan together for the next year, but we wouldn't want to do that without members present. So the board, this committee would basically do nothing for 4 months.
Why wouldn't it be a rolling plan?
Why would?
Any work that we do takes multiple years. So my mind is not that there's a new plan every May 1st, but rather this year's plan has been tightened, updated, and the work continues. I think that any plan worth its salt will be looking 3 to 5 years out, because the change doesn't happen 1 year at a time.
Yep.
But I do think it gives space for new folks who have been joining the committee for a good reason to add their own into it, but also to finish up the work from the previous year. So the work doesn't stop in my mind, because if we're literally only doing 1 year at a time and not saying what's possible 2 years out, 3 years out, what's going to take 3 years to get done.
We
could also
we've
move
got-
you could also move it to January,
Or even if you roll it back to,
because we're going to do a year-end report, right, for the town report.
but that doesn't talk about going forward. That talks about what you've accomplished in the year past.
Yeah,
So you could roll it backwards and work backwards from the final submission date to the planning board for anything we've worked on in that prior year. So that you've got that
Mhm.
covered by the existing committee, flushed it out. And to your point, then we have goals and missions to,
That's
And nothing
what, like October,
It's the-
November, we're done with that process.
Is the
Submitted
goal,
everything.
I think it's September,
Yeah,
isn't it?
when, I mean, we just put the things in front of the planning board. We're undertaking those on the 9th.
Right.
Okay, and so for 27,
Right.
why would we just continue working on 28 suggestions per your email?
Yeah.
And, you know, when the new committee comes in and changes it, that's fine, but why wouldn't we just still do that? Still continue to work on what we
So
thought
when,
was a
when,
great idea.
when do you think we should aim to get it submitted to the select board?
For the new stuff? For 28?
What's,
For
no,
what-
what's the
well,
deadline
for what
for submission to the
Davis
planning
said for
board?
the, we annually create a work plan
Right.
that is
Yeah.
presented to the select board. When
And,
you,
and so working backwards, it would be, when do we have to have any proposed changes submitted to the planning board to give time for review and then the 3 public hearings? Because before September,
September 1 or August 1? September 1.
it's earlier than I think we think.
Yeah,
Do you remember when it is?
if, according to Mike, the zoning changes that we just submitted up, right? He wanted those by March of this year for next year.
right, but he also told us, I went back and looked at some minutes. He at a prior time had told us the deadline is September.
I will also say that Karen, and obviously committee, you know,
Yep.
very important in everything they say, like, I don't want to take anything with a grain of salt, but Karen said that we were right on time. Karen said that we told her of our intentions at the correct time.
Right.
So we were in the docket, as she said. So there's a date to get in the lineup. We hit that deadline. We said, we're doing these 3 things. And then there's a different date to get the packet of information, and we hit that deadline too. Karen said this would be the earliest we would have been seen anyways.
Right.
Mhm.
So I'm just naming that.
So
I
is our
understand that-
final deadline September?
I have no idea, Jack.
So I
I'm
think,
just
I think
saying
it was
that we
September.
hit the
So
deadlines,
if we
Karen.
just use September as the date. Okay, and we've already done all our work, we put our report
Yeah.
together, we submitted the report
Right.
to the planning board. We're now starting, we're 2 things.
Yeah.
We're answering questions, whatever the planning board needs to support that. And number 2, we're working on the next year.
Yeah.
So if we're starting at the October meeting, okay, then if we had January in here, that gives us 4 months to decide what we're gonna do for the next year. I think that's plenty of time, and we don't need select board approval. Okay, and like you said, if there's new people appointed, we catch them up, and if they want to change direction, we change direction.
I would be good with November, December, January. I think any of those are workable, but I will leave it to the committee.
quick question.
Yeah.
So if you're working on a plan, it's based on the majority vote of this committee that goes forward. So if you have new members that come on and they have an issue with it, it's majority of the vote that goes forward on the plan, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where I was getting this feeling you wanted to have it be the same group submitting it to the planning board, but that's just how it works, you know,
Yeah.
there's a majority vote that goes forward, and
Yeah.
if these new members come on and they
So
vote
how
for it,
about February 1st?
yeah.
So just to make sure for the minutes, I have this correct.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is the annual work plan will be finalized when?
I'm going to suggest January.
Okay.
And are you suggesting that the select board approves it for us to be able to work on
No,
it? Okay,
Okay.
no.
all right.
But if we
Because
go 6 months out and haven't heard from the planning board, I think
Right.
we have a problem.
So you've got verbiage in here
Right.
that says it's presented to and approved
Oh, we're gonna
by.
change
We
that.
changed that.
Oh, I
Yes,
don't
it's
have
presented
the
to.
latest, I'm sorry.
Just presented.
Oh, literally the conversation right now.
It'll
We said
just say
you're gonna take
presented.
that away because it's gonna hold things. back.
Presented
Yeah,
for
okay.
approval.
Yeah.
I think if the liaison from the select board to the housing committee has not kept the select board apprised of the general work and they are surprised by the work plan presented, that is on the liaison from the select board to the housing committee. Like, why are they sitting here? And so the hope would be that the micro adjustments would be made along the way and it's not a big surprise when the work plan is is submitted.
All right.
Great. I'm good.
Mindful of Dave's limited time, would everybody be okay with January 15th?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Dave, keep going.
So let me just jump in here and try to cover a couple things here. There's several things that are crossed out. The things that are crossed out are because I felt that they were completed,
Mhm.
Mhm.
okay? And we didn't have to keep them in there. And then in point number 2, there it says that that we're to obtain data on new housing starts. That we're supposed to track the new housing starts.
Mhm.
Well, I think our job is to get that information, not to track it, because the planning department, planning and assessing department is tracking that. So we just need to obtain it, not go out of our way to track it. That's really all I was trying to say there.
Can we just go back? The one you crossed out, the original number 2, that's because we've already done the housing needs assessment, correct?
Correct.
But
So
wouldn't
that's
it
number 3
change
you were
5
reading.
years from now? So I'm just saying, like, data isn't stagnant, and I agree that every single year we don't have to do this, but we should look at the other charges and see where does it live to periodically refresh the assumptions from which we are operating.
I was going to suggest a problem with eliminating that for pretty much the same reason, because it was 2023, correct, that we first even looked at the data.
Correct.
There's been a lot of building, things have changed. So I don't know that we can just say it's done because it's a fluid.
What if we added the words
Piece
at
of
the
data.
end? What if we added the words at the end as needed?
Is it
That's just kind of vague, though.
Aren't we trying to track?
But we're not gonna,
But are we trying to track just how things are occurring in town in terms of housing, right? So it's, what's wrong with tracking it?
well, because we had to hire a consultant to write an in-depth report.
Well, we
I
don't
don't
do,
think-
we
I don't
don't
think
do
we have
that,
that
but
in-
right,
We
right. But I
don't
mean,
have
I
that
mean,
in-house
I mean,
capacity. And so I agree with Alyssa. It's, yeah, at some point we're gonna want to update it for sure. So I'm fine with leaving it in, but we need some wiggle room so that it's not like an annual obligation.
I almost wonder about putting at the bottom, like making it the new last one down there, something around the responsibility of the housing committee to periodically refresh like their knowledge base or something that really does play into a variety of different data points. So taking all these different ones that are about like know the data, consolidating it into one, and then not at this exact moment, but hashing out in a separate conversation. Okay, how often does this data
Is
need
this-
to be refreshed?
is this difficult to get from the planning and assessing department on a?
No, I
basis?
get it every
I'm just saying.
January.
Which one are you referring to, dear?
Number 3 is,
Get it every
Crossed out
January.
number 2.
If it's not hard to get, why don't?
that's number
just get it?
3 that we can get from Karen. Number 2 is not quite.
Well, talking about the crossed out number 2.
Yeah, I thought we crossed it out.
Okay, but that's, getting availability, cost of housing, type of dwellings by each type of dwelling. And if you remember, that was a thick report, and a lot
Right.
of work that I
Right,
don't see anybody on this committee doing that.
Right.
right.
Okay, unless your
And we
group.
we
can-
need grant funds to hire some.
Yeah,
Are we talking about the first report?
yeah, Ivy's report. I know we're not high on that report, but, still, that's how.
Well,
we
I'm
got-
not sure the
that's-
job was ever really done effectively, so that's a concern and things have changed.
Oh, I think that's unfair. I think she produced a very good report and it's very detailed and comprehensive.
And it was reviewed and approved by the grant overseers as well. And it also went to BEA for review, so.
Well,
So are we
my
holding?
opinion-
As I'm looking further down, I do to some extent think the to analyze the availability and cost of housing, including but not limited to blah, 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 could fall within the to review regional housing patterns in comparison to Hopkinton, specifically analyzing cost, like what have you, right?
Mhm.
So that they don't need to be two separate ones. It really is about how are we, because every time we've discussed that data, availability, cost, type, it has been in a both like us, but also in comparison to fellow communities and the rest of the state. So I just wonder about moving some of that verbiage to that line so that we know what we're actually comparing, not just
Yep.
broadly. A thought to keep the conversation moving.
So I'm sorry, but I missed the beginning of that. Are you saying incorporate some of the language from the original number 2 into number 5?
6. Sorry, I may have said 5. Number 6, to review regional housing patterns in comparison to Hopkinton.
So you would merge that with 2?
Yep. Because I feel personally, if you're doing one, you're doing the other. Like,
Okay, and do you have some proposed language as to how often or frequency?
I don't know what a best practice is, so I'd put a TBD in there to move the conversation forward and have someone do a quick research to say how often do various folks update their data sets. I don't know, is it 5 years? Is it 7 years? Like, I don't know how housing moves.
I would really like to keep that separated because a lot of that data doesn't come out at the same time. The data that would fall under item number 2 is fluid. And you can get that in the monthly report. Typically, you don't get number 6 until halfway through the next year.
The regional housing patterns, that's an official report.
Or do you mean 5, Tricia?
No, number 5, regional housing patterns. The data isn't usually compiled and provided to the public for some time after the close of the previous year. If you look at St. A's, they're still processing all of that information. So that's something that would be done typically once a year to see patterns. The other things, you could get projections and you can get current and past. You could get town information as far as what the trend is each month, but to actually establish a pattern, you have to have those to create the pattern.
Yeah. I think
So-
two different things are happening right now. One is we have the duties that we want to like tighten up. What are we actually doing? But then 2, I think we're getting accidentally, myself included, sidetracked by what is the data we're using to inform all of that and when are we checking it? And so may I make a recommendation that the items that have been struck out, number 2, number 4, number 5. And I'm going to add to that number 6 should be moved to a separate data conversation about what is the data we are reviewing and when are we reviewing it. Because to look at the data as a duty and a charge seems, yes, we should be doing that. And what we're having that conversation about now is when are we doing that? What data are we looking at? Blah, blah, blah. Regardless, the whole reason we are doing it is to accomplish the duties. And so making the review of the data in and of itself a duty seems like it adds a lot of unnecessary information high up when actually what's more important that should be listed above all of that is to develop long-term strategies, to contribute to the updates of the housing chapter, right? Those things should be bumped up. And we review all that data in support of that work, and we can figure out at another meeting, like what data will support us in coming up with those recommendations.
I agree. I just don't think
Yeah.
we should be combining those 2. That
Very
was
fair.
just.
Yeah, they're separate.
Can I?
So do we want to set aside for a future discussion, crossed out number 2, new number 2, crossed out number 4, crossed out number 5, and new number 3, and then
Has it.
new number 4? Is that the scope of what we're saying we need to
Good question, Jack.
think about more?
Question or a statement. I think as it's a charter, getting too specific doesn't serve the purpose. You know what I mean? Is if it's our role to, obtain, organize, and make available key data points supporting the decision-making process for the housing committee and other supported committees within the town of Hopkinton. That way, we're not pigeonholing ourselves to a specific data set, because priorities will change, data sets will change, and we'll be continuously rewriting which data sets on this.
Mhm.
So specificity on that point may not serve our purpose.
I agree.
Can I also ask a question?
Sure.
Kind of relates to something Alyssa mentioned. Like, are these supposed to be ranked in order of importance? Is that the
No.
intent
No.
behind this? Okay.
No,
I thought
no.
I heard that, but okay.
I was saying that from a reader perspective, if I
Okay.
were to go to our town website
Yeah.
and I were to read it, and if you think about the average length of time that anyone reads anything these
Sure.
days, you gotta
We're
catch
gonna
them
read the
first.
top stuff first.
They're gonna read the top three and be like, got it, walking away.
Okay.
And so what are the ones that like, it's not about what's most important. I would hate to get into a debate over the
Understood.
ranking of it. I am simply saying though that the things at the bottom half in general should probably be higher than the list of the data sets.
So at the risk of being a little pushy here, okay? I have about 1 minute before I have a 6-year-old granddaughter sitting on a curb waiting for me in Concord. And
By
that's,
herself.
that's bad. But the worst part is that I will never be allowed to pick her up again. Okay, but I just want to make one other comment and then leave it up to the group. Number 7,
Yes.
I added language in there that includes cost issues. And the reason I did that was because that was, when we originally talked to people, that was one of the biggest issues, is the cost in town and the cost
Mhm.
of running the town and the schools that are playing on living in town. And I thought it was important that we have some mention of it in there. Just so we're aware
Number
of
10, I
it.
think. You said number 7, but it's number 10 says.
Well, it's scratched out number 10, a new number 7, right?
Still number 10.
Or,
The
number 7.
10, it was 10, right? It was 10
Yeah.
now, so.
Now
yes,
it's new 7.
correct.
My bad. Okay.
Okay, yeah, you
I
should
gotta
go.
go.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Okay,
See
sorry.
you later.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were raising your hand.
No, I was
Okay.
reading by.
So is anybody else taken with this idea that Danny just threw out? Let me move into something less specific than all of these items?
Yes, I love that.
Okay.
Great.
Would you want to draft something up for the next meeting?
Sure.
Wait, in general or just related to data?
What's that?
Sorry, when you said draft something up for the next meeting, like another take at the charge? or-
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this section of the charge.
So basically, we'd have multiple reads before we approve it.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. I mean, this is not urgent, like nobody said to us, hey, you better update. that,"
Yeah.
You know?
This was Dave's.
I do want to just, from a community member standpoint, while I agree that a level of generality is helpful, a level of specificity that is also posted on the website that helps a committee not have mission creep
Mhm.
is helpful. So just keeping in mind that when the original mission was created by the select board, not the one I was on, previous one, and then was reaffirmed 6 months ago by the current select board, that generality is good, but also not, we don't want a different charge.
You want it to be ambiguous.
Not so ambiguous that you could be like, great, I can like take this community in a completely different direction and do something entirely different with it.
Just make an observation. I think there are too many items on this list. That's my
There
personal
are.
observation.
I think
There
I'm
are.
condensing some of the data point items that will shrink.
Yeah.
to
Like, to your point about someone reading this, like,
Yeah,
nobody's gonna read this.
it's kind of overwhelming
Yeah, it is.
as a mission. Yeah,
Jack, may I make a suggestion?
please.
The number 12, new, number 9, to recommend to the select board the pursuit of grants and other options. I don't know that that is really part of our charge. We have someone who researches grants and applies for them. And so I think that should be stricken.
I think it was again, not being involved in the initial charter. I agree with you. Beverly wasn't on staff at the time. Lisette wasn't on staff at the time. And I think now there are a minimum of 2 folks who are doing amazing work on behalf of the town.
But are you saying strike the entire item or just the new language that Dave added? Because he added and other state and federal options.
I would strike the whole thing.
Yes,
You want to strike the whole thing?
I think so, because
Okay.
anything that Beverly sends to us has already gone through the channels.
Yep. Does,
They are much faster than we are at finding these things.
Yeah.
Yes.
okay. Does anybody object to striking that?
I think obviously if someone in the pursuit of other things comes across a grant, they should share it, but I don't necessarily think
Yep.
we as a committee are going to spend our work time Google searching grants.
Well, I was going to suggest changing options to resources because there may be other things that we could be considering in terms of how to help people in town that are struggling with housing costs that might not be covered by what Beverly does with grants.
I will say the select board we started our department visits for this year, and this morning we had the pleasure of sitting down with Lisette from Health and Human Services, who is a wealth of knowledge. And as she was explaining some of the work she has been undertaking, she knows it all. We would simply be replicating the work that she's actively doing. So I'm mindful of that.
And I think we also discussed at the last meeting that we just don't have the bandwidth to be doing public outreach and helping folks.
It's
you know.
also redundant and a bit of mission creep when
Yeah,
she's got the programs at hand and administering them.
And just to like help for anyone who wants to like microphone it out there, not only is Lisette a wealth of knowledge, if you need to navigate town support, she's also a connector to other nonprofits. She's also a connector to the state. And so she is connected in a way that, and she encourages all of us that if anyone comes like looking for assistance, to please point them in her direction. Like, the idea is funnel it to the person who actually has all of the access. It doesn't mean that they're going to receive welfare from the town, but she can help point them in the right direction. I was really blown away this morning. I mean, I'm always blown away when I hang out with Lisette, but.
Well, I'll say it one last time and then I won't dwell on it. I think we should be doing more to reach out to the community. I don't think we should just be sitting here trying to make policy. Not everyone who needs help knows how to seek it, knows where to seek it, or feels comfortable seeking.
And I think
if there are
that was the
programs
way to
that
put
might
it.
be available that we could advertise to the community,
but we just,
that would be a good thing to do. And I don't think
I
that's
agree
out
with
of our
you.
bandwidth.
I think it's out of the housing committee charge. And coming out of the meeting this morning, what Vicky and I left with was, oh my goodness, we need to be blasting the information that she knows out through all of our channels.
Yeah.
I don't think we as a committee have access to the social media, the listservs, the websites. There's entire staff members and departments that
yeah,
now, like, it's about us. I think we should be reminding them to do it, but I don't think we have access to the resources to do it, but they do. So I agree with you. She has so much to share.
all right, I'm gonna keep us moving. I'm looking here and it looks to me like we've got something redundant in the new number 8 and the new number 10. Number 8 says we report to the select board yearly upon request of the select board compared to the work plan for that year. And then number 10 says we publish an annual report on the state of housing in Hopkinton, including the town report each year. That's a lot of reporting. I think a work plan at the beginning of the
Strike
year. and
number 11, the original number 11. I think you have to keep the last one, because every committee
Yes,
submits that. so.
exactly. Okay. Anybody object to striking what was number 11? Okay.
I don't, and I think they both carry different information.
Yes. Okay. I think that's as far as we can go with this for tonight. So we'll bring it back on the agenda for the next meeting. Okay. And then the next item is the planning board meeting next Tuesday, June 9th. We are on the agenda to discuss the memo that we sent them with our proposed 3 zoning amendments. Karen Robertson, the town planner, reached out to me last Thursday and said, hey, I have some questions I'd like to sort of talk to you about regarding the memo you sent over, and invited me to come in and meet with her. I invited Tricia to join us, and she was the principal author of those memos, or what became a consolidated memo. So we had a really good conversation with Karen. She had some questions about attached dwellings, AKA townhouses, and whether there might be some confusion between the definition of townhouses and multifamily and some other issues. And we basically agreed, yeah, some of this merits some further research. And Tricia is helping out with that, and I'm working on it too. But there was nothing that she thought we needed to bring up at the meeting of the planning board.
Correct. And I submitted the definitions of townhouse, condo, and multifamily, which interestingly enough, townhouses and multifamily do not have a statutory definition.
Yeah.
So
Say that again?
Townhouse
and
and
multifamily.
multifamily does not have a statutory definition. And multifamily has two definitions in specific RSAs, depending on if it is workforce or if it is through someone like New Hampshire Housing Finance or so subsidized. And it has a different definition, so.
So the plan for that meeting is Dave has agreed to join me and Tricia as well. So the three of us will present the memo, I think very briefly, just sort of outline for them big picture what they are, what the three proposed changes are, and then I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions. So
You'll be great, don't worry.
Yeah, Dean and I are gonna come in hot. We're gonna have so many
your
questions.
knowledge. So anyway, I just wanted to inform everybody that is the plan for next Tuesday. And we'll report back on how that goes at the next meeting. That brings us to number 6, discussion of priorities for 2027. Just to clarify, these are priorities for the committee to work on and provide to the planning board in 2027 for consideration at town meeting in 2028. So
Right.
it's quite a way out. But the planning board likes us to get to them as early as we can in a calendar year prior to a March town meeting date the following year. So I just want to say, this entailed reviewing the final report that we got from the Barrett Group, which is on the website. Interestingly, my printout has completely different page numbers than the one on the website. So it may be confusing when we start referring to this. But that's sort of the basis for the discussion tonight. But as I said in my email, we're free to recommend things that aren't in this report. And, the example that I cited in the email is at the last meeting, we started talking about cottage courts and people seemed really excited. And that is not in the Barrett Group report. But I consider that to be fair game. The other thing I will say is, this is a big decision and I don't expect us to just wrap it up neatly tonight. I think this is a conversation that's probably going to take place over at least a couple meetings, possibly more, because these measures some of them are complicated and hard to understand and are going to require us to sort of run down some questions that I think inevitably are going to come up as we go through them. So I just want to set expectations. I don't think we're going to, walk out of here in 45 minutes having made a final decision on our priorities. And with that, some of you got back to me and sent me your top priorities. Thank you for those who did. I've got my own list, but I think we should just essentially go around the table and each person is welcome to offer up what they want to see as our priorities for next year. So maybe we'll just go around the room this way. Dawn.
I've got to find it. What I sent to you.
Yeah, I need to look too.
Just give me a
Sure.
minute.
Yeah.
If somebody else has it,
I do.
You want me to do mine first?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think you might already have mine, right?
Yeah, but go ahead for the rest of the
I
group.
think there were 3 things I was thinking about. One is I wanted to explore, I think cottage housing is already agreed in Hopkinton, right? I was more interested in, and that's great because I just found that out from talking to Henniker a month or so ago, right? That they do
Yeah.
it. But I would,
We're not zoned for it.
no, we're not.
No.
I thought we were.
We're zoned for clustered housing.
But it's not the same. So what I wanted to understand was like, what does cottage housing look like, right? And I think it's we keep talking about things like Hopkins Green and things like that. I know that's not, but it's like, to me, it's a smaller version of something like that, where you have multiple buildings, you have, ingress, egress, and, how do we develop, how do we make it easy to develop something like that in Hopkinton? That was one idea, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The second one was, I think Dawn may have mentioned this the last time, is like, the town itself owns property all over town, or has town all over town.
Listen to me.
And so I do listen to you. And so, yeah. And so why can we explore that? Like, what is there that we could develop? When you go to the library every day, or wherever you go to, you see a couple of houses on that road right there that are private property, but like the ones across the street got developed, but these over here aren't developed. But they would look like classic examples of senior housing for folks that could move about in town. I don't know who owns the buildings or anything, but I'm just saying, like, that looks like that there's some opportunity there. And I don't know how much more there is.
Which,
Right.
could you clarify where?
If you go into the library, right? By the way, the Hopkins girls won their last home game today.
Lacrosse.
16-6. Good for
Wow.
them. On to the,
How many
Is that
goals,
right?
how many goals did Maeve have?
I don't know, I haven't told yet, but the next is the playoffs. This team has been stuck at the semis for 3 years in a row. So these seniors really want to do something this year. But anyway, when you go into the library, there's two white buildings there.
They're owned by the.
They're owned by Markland.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying, they're
They
kind
don't
of,
want to,
okay,
They don't wanna
but they're
sit
kind
on
of classic, like things we could be thinking about doing. And the question is, how many more? I only see those two. How many
Right.
more do we have in town that the town owns? That we
Christian, do
could
you
develop?
remember us talking with Karen Robertson about this at one of the meetings? I thought she basically said
We
to
even
us,
had a list
not-
of those.
there's not a wealth of,
You can go online, you can go online, and I think you can figure out how many properties that are in,
but you're saying town owned.
yeah,
Yeah,
not,
that was-
not buildings, not property that has a tax deficiency or something, but some property the town actually physically controls.
Right. I think
How
it's a
do you-
small universe.
Is it?
yeah.
Yeah.
It is that much.
Yeah.
I had mentioned this to Karen H the other day, and I
Yeah.
believe she said that and I haven't looked yet, in the annual report is a list of all the properties the town owns as a jumping point.
Okay.
But I haven't cracked.
Have you seen it? Have you looked at it?
No, Dean, of course not. I took this information, I scrolled it away.
They're right there, it's right behind you.
Okay.
Okay.
And the last thing I was thinking about was just, I know in the report, it was sort of towards the bottom, but it was like mixed use opportunities,
Yeah.
to see if that was something else that we could, figure out and, but that could most likely be, something in, downtown area where you could support two sort of entities if that's a possibility.
Okay.
So,
Great. Who wants to go next?
I can.
Did you find it? All right.
So I was interested in number 7, which is Affordable Housing Innovative Land Use Control Ordinance. The recommendations are to revise the ordinance to increase allowable density. And there are several parts to that. So increasing the density, allowing for more housing types. So the court would be the tiny house court, cottage courts would be type.
Wait, is this, wait, I'm confused. Is this part of revising the Affordable Housing Innovative Land Use Control Ordinance, or is this something different?
No, it's part of it. It's all part of that section.
I see, 7273. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay,
Yep, got it.
so allowing for wider type of housing, a wider range of housing types. But one of the other things that was of particular interest to me was barrier 7.4 was high household income requirements. Aligning the requirements to those outlined in the Workforce Housing RSA will ensure that units created will count towards Hopkinton's fair share. Seeing lower affordability thresholds will also help provide housing for Hopkinton households that are currently struggling. And I think that that our threshold is $138,000 for family income.
Is it 130,000 or 130% of
100.
general poverty?
It works out to be,
Area
yeah,
median income or?
it works out to be 138,000 here, which is higher in Hopkinton than many other
Yeah.
places.
Okay,
Just because I feel like I missed some words and also you're speaking a little bit shorthand. Could you clarify what exactly you just talked about after? What was the numbers you were?
I'm
talking
gonna
about?
retract what I said because
Okay.
I'm really just guessing.
Okay.
But ignore that.
Okay.
Let's go with her. She has a hard number of 138,000.
No, but what are, so
So it
exactly are
says,
you talking about? Yes, could you
Yeah,
break
it's a
it
lot-
down for the
it's a lot of
non-housing people in the
embedded
room?
Conversation, yeah.
She's talking about the income requirements
Income requirements for receiving,
for housing to count under this ordinance in order
As
to
affordable.
qualify as affordable.
is too high.
thank you.
Are you taking minutes?
Yes.
Did you want? But
So-
I recorded.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I just take reference
So-
and then
I believe that is set by HUD, isn't it?
No, because ours is higher than other towns, it said.
Because it's based on area median income.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you can change it if
Why
HUD
not?
is saying that
He says it's
the
a
rule is
barrier.
that it's based on the town's median income.
But if it's a barrier, doesn't it mean we can change it?
Not necessarily.
How can we change people's income?
No, I think you're just saying changing the standard,
Yeah,
which the town has latitude
What section?
to do.
it's 7.4.
She's on, yeah, what page, Dawn, do you, in the report, do you know? Section 7?
Pages 17 and 18, recommendations, and also pages 8 and 9.
Yeah, that doesn't line up with my numbers, unfortunately. My page numbers, which I knew would be a problem.
So there's two different page numbers happening, which is unfortunate. Jack, it might be page 26 for you, depending on how yours numbered. So if you're looking at it in a PDF sliding, it's page 26, but if you're looking at the bottom right-hand corner printed on the document, it's page 18. But it's deep in the recommendation section of the report. So-
Where's it on? Just.
If, me- let me send this to you, Nora.
Okay, so there's a paragraph summarizing what the recommendation is. It's on my printed copy, page 23. It is number 7. And the recommendation is 7.1, revise the Affordable Housing Innovative Land Use Control Ordinance to increase allowable density.
In the link for the doc that you sent out to all of us. Looks like this.
I'm on 7.1.
Yeah, she was talking about 7.4. So. the-
Yes, but she's talking, well, yes, you're correct. But she is speaking of all the, Dawn's recommendation was to adopt all of the changes.
To learn it.
So I don't think we need to get in the weeds on this. I think the point is Dawn would like to see section 7, all of the recommendations in section 7 so that we revise that ordinance.
The one on, the one on conservation 7.6, I was like, this about, I would be very careful as to what we did with that one, especially with Catherine sitting here.
Okay.
Well, I don't like the whole ordinance to begin with.
I figured.
It's not being used in the way in which it was intended. So that's
So what I'm
a
writing
whole
down
different discussion.
is like number 7 from the Barrett report. And I heard a specific emphasis on density and on income level.
Right, and housing types that are allowed.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then just to add some more flavor to something Dean had said and something Catherine just said at the last planning board meeting, they are actually potentially undertaking, looking at revisions to the conservation ordinance because it seemed to be the feeling of the board in general that it was not being utilized in the way intended. So Karen R. led a discussion and was going to put together a draft reworking of the ordinance.
The conservation subdivision ordinance?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna make one comment on this, which is, I worry that no matter how we revise this, no matter how well written it is, that we are not an attractive town for, developers of affordable or low-income housing. Because, the projects here would be too small. So the folks who develop affordable housing in New Hampshire almost all come through my agency, New Hampshire Housing, because we allocate federal tax credits to help pay for the cost of developing the housing. And then there are also grant and loan funds that we make available through the State Affordable Housing Fund. There are other federal funds that are made available. And historically, we don't get developers coming in to say, I want to do 10 or 15 units of affordable housing. You know, they're going to do 50 or 80 or, 100.
And obviously, I don't want to take the committee off track from the goals conversation, but I'm glad you'll be there at Tuesday's meeting because I believe, I haven't looked at the agenda yet, I believe we'll continue the conversation because it's a multi-meeting conversation.
Yes.
So maybe you can catch part of it then to share that perspective in
Yep.
real time.
Yep.
So Jack, there is also an initiative to develop a small developer
Yes.
arm of that. So I don't want to just negate that Hopkinton wouldn't be
Yep.
attractive. It's just not the size in units that are typically run through New Hampshire housing at this point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think that's.
I think
That's
to your
fair.
point, if you think about the last couple of projects that have come to the planning board, they've been, remember there were 20 acres, you divide half, and conservation, you take 10, you make a smaller, smaller lot size, right? Because of density bonuses, benefits, whatever. And you get 5 houses, 7 houses, whatever you get. And that's what we're getting, but these aren't affordable housing.
Right.
It's going to be big houses in a small lot looking over somebody else's house, right, type of thing. And that's the last 2 projects that we've gotten in the planning board.
Yeah.
Well, and not just that, but from the conservation standpoint, at least one of them has little bits of open land, which are basically people's backyards. That's not
But, yeah,
conservation,
I mean,
really.
Continuing on, one of them is adding a couple of ADUs to count as housing.
Right.
And I think that, from my perspective, wasn't the intent of the ordinance, but there we are,
and let's remember, there are 2 definitions for affordable housing.
right?
And this section 7 is affordable housing according to HUD guidelines, not affordable to an individual.
Right.
All right. Dawn, anything else on this?
No.
Okay. Any others? Or this is your,
I figured,
this is it?
I better not do a bunch of priorities because this is going to be a hard one.
Okay. All right. Great.
So I'll advocate.
I also went with one, the cottage or patio homes. And at first I was thinking about, it would be nice to have them designated as senior housing, but then based on societal benefits of mixed generations and populace, I decided just to stick to patio homes,
Okay. Can we call them cottage courts? Same thing?
cottage courts. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Awesome. Catherine?
That's 2 votes already.
It's top on my list too.
I apologize, I don't have the report, but I have the numbers
Okay.
of the
Good enough.
three things I listed. 8.1, 9.1, and 9.2. And I don't recall exactly what they said. I know at least two of them had to do with Hopkinton Village.
Okay. I think we can find those.
9.1 is no clear map in the HVP ordinance depicting the zoning boundaries.
Sorry, can you say that again?
No clear map in the HVP ordinance depicting zoning boundaries. And then 9.2 is multifamily is not permitted in the HVP.
And I was looking at the map and it's
What's the
described
recommendation?
by people who used to.
Sounds like the barrier.
Yeah, that's the barrier.
Yeah, so but she's got a recommendation. There
Oh.
should be a corresponding.
Yeah, the recommendation was
Repeating those
See,
numbers.
I'm just
please.
looking.
8.1.
Yeah.
9.1.
Yeah.
and
There's something under
9.2.
recommendations attached to it.
Okay.
If you
If-
go down to the
in the-
first half of the report has the barriers and then you jump down to the second half of the report and then
I'm just looking at the barrier. I'm looking at a 14-page report, so I don't have the full thing.
Nick, I'll forward you the link.
Because that will help me too.
Yeah.
Yes, that'd be good. Yeah, I don't. Nuts. So 8.1 is permanent uses. This says. Oh, no, that's 8.8. Sorry, hang on one second.
Point one is replace subdivider with applicant throughout the subdivision regulations.
Sorry, say that again, Tricia?
Replace subdivider. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the recommendation. Forgive me.
That's what we want.
We're looking
you-
at the
you-
Yeah,
Okay.
recommendation for.
Language.
Replace subdivider with applicant throughout the subdivision regulations.
So this is the subdivision regulations. Is this conservation subdivisions?
I think it's throughout. I don't think it was just under
That
that, but
is.
I don't recall.
So,
The barrier was conflicting definitions of applicant and subdivider.
yeah, okay, so it's. Yes, 8.1 is replace subdivider with applicant throughout the subdivision regulations. Are you good with that, Alyssa? Okay, and then 9.1
Yeah, that's
is
very-
work with the Hopkins Village Precinct to develop a clear map of the HVP zoning ordinance districts. And then 9.2 is work with the HVP board to encourage the permissibility of multifamily housing and other housing types within the HVP boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now, I didn't include it. And again, I've said it before. Feel like a broken record, but senior housing is what people say they want most. And we have yet to address that.
so.
And I really think we ought to be addressing that.
So you emailed me about that and I wrote back to you and I said, I completely agree. Senior housing is a big need in this town. We heard that during the outreach sessions, a lot of folks feeling trapped in their homes, not able to downsize. And there's of course affordability issues for people who are struggling with property taxes, all of that. My response is, I think we should develop all types of housing that are senior friendly. So that can be an ADU. That can be a cottage courthouse that is 1,400 square feet, all one floor. It could be multifamily, first floor units. I think we absolutely want to be cognizant of that, but we also have to remember that seniors are not the only ones with housing needs. We also have folks who need starter homes. We also need people who need to be able to rent an apartment so they can afford, so they can live in the town they work in. So I am very open to doing everything we can to be senior friendly. But I don't think it's a single item.
I would strongly agree with you on that. It has to be everyone. You know, I mean, some people come into Hopkinton on low income, right? And they want an opportunity to set roots in here. And I think having that be targeted to specifically that, I think we need to have it be a level for everybody, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, when seniors have other options, some of the houses they own will come on the market. So that opens up more opportunities for younger people perhaps moving in to buy those homes. There are communities that offer incentives to people that will build senior housing, and I don't know why we would exclude that as a possibility.
So would you add as a fourth priority, just for the notes, to research incentives that other towns are putting forward to encourage senior housing? And I'm asking just because of what you just said, and recognizing that I know Dawn is she has been talking about barrier number 7 since I joined the committee, because she has been also beating the drum of senior housing. And for her, that will help.
Affordable dispute.
Exactly, yes. Well, that she sees like of the things in front of us, the levers we have to pull, this one could unlock that. And so in thinking about how to crack that nut, would you want to add something in about researching incentives, or is there a particular recommendation from the report that you think?
I'm always in favor of research and data. So of course,
I mean, is it worth doing what we did earlier? We reached out to surrounding communities and found out what they did or what they have or how they did it. Is it working? Did it work? You know, all the towns around.
If the committee wants to do that, we can do
I'm just
that.
adding it to the priority list to make sure it's noted that you had listed the 3 recommendations, and then the same way, like some folks have had off their report recommendations, it being like researching and understanding incentives in other communities that have encouraged the development of senior housing.
As far as zoning goes, there's really nothing that discourages somebody from putting in senior housing.
no, but
But
you
we
can
need to-
incentivize, right?
Encourage and incentivize. And I think when you said these, the cottage courts type of thing, we've already talked about ADUs.
Right. There's also,
Cottage courts also opens that
Did you
up.
get it?
also, if you do create an incentive for senior housing, you have to make the same incentive available for workforce housing by law.
Mhm.
So,
Cool.
all right.
Notes taken.
Jamie, your first meeting, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at any of this stuff. Do you, anything you want to weigh in on? And feel free to pass.
Jack shared with me some of the data, and I've read through it just to get familiar with it, but I haven't really had a chance to really get deep on it. I will share, the cottage style housing. I'm involved in a couple projects right now around that, and that is something that's compelling. You're talking about building mini community. There's one savings bank of Walpole's involved in both commercially and residentially in Keene, 3 acres, 18 homes.
18 homes and 3 acres.
Yes. Wow. You get real close to the neighbors.
Yes.
But it's appealing quite candidly to in and around Cheshire County, people who are downsizing. They're realizing great gains on the value of the property right now. This is probably price points somewhere between 425, almost 500 in these areas. A lot of these will go for cash because of the equity they've realized in the sale of the property. But it also it's in walkable distance of downtown Keene. So there's services, there's restaurants, there's community. So I think cottage style housing is definitely something to look at. I want to look at, go through this again before I give any other
Sure.
opines. I think the challenge with affordable, it's a term that I work with every day. It's nothing's affordable right now. So the term has become a term of frustration on that. So I think it's how do we help people realize the dream of home ownership, and that's going to come through a lot of different avenues. But between the building costs, taxes, I use the term as a lender. We probably all heard the acronym PITI.
No, I haven't.
It doesn't stand for pity payment, but it's your mortgage payment, principal, interest, taxes, insurance.
Okay.
It's the first time in my career when I got into lending since 1989 that the principal is on the rise because it costs more to buy a home. interest is on the rise because interest rates are up, taxes up, and insurance up. It's really one of the perfect storm that every portion of someone's affordability is under a rise right now. Right. So I think it's a challenge, always referring it to affordable because people trying to afford these homes don't think they're affordable. And so I think, looking at viable housing solutions is really speaking to each class of people on the downside, people looking for the first should always be a priority. But, how do I categorize that into a distinct and separate thing? I'd like to send that along after I had a chance to go through it.
Yeah.
Great.
Could I ask you,
That's number 7.
That's number 7? Okay.
I ask you a couple of questions on the cottage? What was the house footprint? Like how big is the house? Those 18, just.
I think they range anywhere from 950 to 1,250 square feet, if I remember
And what
correctly.
did you say the cost was per cottage?
It hasn't finally been determined yet, but it was under 500,000. So some of the smaller ones, single family ranch style, I believe we're in the low 400s.
That's not exactly what I thought.
Exactly.
No.
That's the
Well,
problem.
if you-
It's not going to be.
Number,
Want, that house for 100,000 less, a manufactured home
Yeah.
would do the trick. But then that's a whole other can of worms.
I mean, depending on where you're building right now, and part of the state and stuff, I mean, new homes are ranging, based on our research, $275 to $325 a square foot is what we're seeing. That's what's made ADU construction so hard.
Right.
But a $500,000 house at 1,200 square feet, that's a 400, square foot cost.
Mhm.
Which
All right.
was pretty tough.
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt just for 1 second. We're going to lose you soon, right, Alyssa?
I'm gonna text Luke and I will stay for as long as I can.
All right. Do you want to give us your priorities?
I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's a number
Okay.
7 too.
Are
Nick.
you serious?
Yeah, you should go, Nick.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Catherine kind of beat me to it because I was gonna address some of the section 9 about Hopkinton Village precinct. So
Yeah.
I think the two you mentioned are a good starting point. I will say though, for the map, I don't really know what they mean by clear map. Like, I don't know what that means. Cause I can read the map just fine, but I mean, are we gonna have to go get a survey? Cause that's gonna be a problem if we have to do that, cause that's gonna be a challenge. I just don't know what they mean by clear map, so. But I'm happy to address it and happy to make it a priority. 9.2, I think, is something definitely to look at too. So, I mean,
Okay.
I want to start in a more modest way. I think that's a good way to do it incrementally, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm new to this, so
You got drafted like very.
Yeah, just.
You've had 12 hours. Come
Yeah,
on,
I
dude.
know. I know. I don't have anything. The only thing that really came to mind is kind of alluded to him is talking a little bit is having some type of structure of sharing statistic data on when you're coming into Hopkinton, what's likely to happen year over year with taxes and stuff like that, with housing and stuff. One of the things I've observed a lot in my time here in Hopkinton is people didn't do enough research before they came into town.
Yeah.
And there's a way of being able to provide that to people of research information of when they're looking to come into Hopkinton. I can give a lot of value because of people who lock themselves into a commitment into substantial principal. And then when they have their taxes on top of that, they realize, well, I really didn't afford this. I'm making $60,000 a year. Because they don't understand the trajectory of where we're going with taxes and how we're not receiving much money from the state in regards to education and other areas. If there's some type of like portfolio that we can present, or I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's the first thing.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Cool.
Yeah, data transparency and how are we communicating that and where are we communicating that?
Yeah,
Yeah. And I want to give you time between this meeting and the next.
Yeah,
Spend some time digging around.
definitely. But that was the
This
first
isn't-
thing.
This isn't your last opportunity.
Yeah.
And Jack had mentioned in a previous meeting that for projects that are more bite-sized, there's the opportunity for subcommittees to push forward
Yeah.
pieces of work that don't necessarily take all of us.
If you publish that and you look at where we were I don't know, pick 10 years ago, 50 years ago, and you publish today, you're gonna scare anybody from coming into town.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's
crazy.
like I look at my own case and I'm like, that was nice when I first got here.
Yeah.
It's not so
It'll-
nice today, but
And I think the one thing that I ran into is people not understanding when we were reeval.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of people, they're like, oh, wow, tax rate dropped, and then they don't understand, the house value and how that works into the equation of your house and stuff. And it's really important for people to understand that, like, hey, if you're gonna put this on your house, a deck or this and that, at some point you're gonna have a change in your house value. And just so that people have an understanding of when that happens for the reval and stuff like that, I think it's important to share. We have enough resources in town where we're able to point that to people. Just some food for thought.
Everyone else is gone, right?
What's that? No,
Everyone- No, you haven't. Jack, you should go.
I haven't gone. Okay. So, I have 3 recommendations, but they're multi-parts and, I'll lay them out and then, we can have a discussion about whether it's too much. But I'm just going to lay out what I would like to see. So the first one is, the title is Changes to the Conservation Subdivision Ordinance. And so my top one within that would be allowing cottage courts. And then secondly, recommendation 3.1, which says simplify the yield plan requirement, replace it with a simple formula for density calculation. And the point of this is to address what is seen as a flaw with the current yield plan, because it results in artificially low numbers. And I'll be honest, I don't completely understand the sort of the technical underpinnings of this, the critique of the existing one versus the new one that's offered up. But the suggested solution is 8.6.1, which says that you replace the yield plan requirement with a different method of calculation as to how many homes are allowed.
You may be very excited to hear that Karen R. presented that exact same thing at the last meeting.
Wow.
And it is part of the potential revamping of the ordinance. She said that Hopkinton used to do a density formula. A different density formula. It was a different
Yeah.
formula and
Yeah.
it was not working. She explained it, but my brain did not keep it all. And she presented the new formula and explained the pros to it and the permitting costs and the reduction in barriers and the simplification. And so it wasn't the whole conversation, but it was a part of
Yep.
that conversation was her proposal. So obviously keep an eye on it. I'm not saying take it away, but just know like this is literally what Karen R. was presenting last meeting.
Okay, awesome to hear. And then the third part under this is allow attached dwellings and conservation subdivisions. And this one is confusing because there's language in the report saying they already are allowed, and then there's language saying it's very ambiguous and we're not really sure. But
Attached dwellings like an ADU or like something
sorry,
different?
townhouses.
Thank you.
Yes. So you know, 3.3, the recommendation is provide clear guidance in the conservation subdivision ordinance about attached single family homes, AKA townhouses. And then there's a recommendation 8.8.2, which says you would allow up to 8 attached dwelling units, AKA townhouses, within a conservation subdivision. So those are the subcomponents of changing the conservation subdivision ordinance. My second priority, like Dean, is mixed use development. And I would identify recommendation 2.7, which says include mixed-use development in the table of uses and determine where the use will be allowed, what types of uses may be included, and other guidelines for creating mixed-use development. So, and one of the things that this is helpful for, it would align us with the requirements for the Housing Champions designation. And that's a state grant program that currently is unfunded, but has given out a lot of money to a lot of communities to help them with infrastructure costs for new housing. And there's hope that in the next legislative session, it will be funded once again. So that would be an added benefit. But the idea is that, you have buildings downtown where you might have a business on the first floor and housing on the second and third floor, and some of that already exists, right? But there's no zoning saying you can do it. It's from, I think, the pre-zoning days or whatever.
It does
So-
creep me up that you can't recreate Kentucky Village based off our current zoning.
Yeah. But like, I looked at the zone and I realized like, oh, this would apply on Pine Street. So I was thinking about like, the building where, there's carpets by Carrie. Potentially you could put, 1 or 2 floors above that with apartments if you allowed mixed use. Okay.
You mean in addition to the apartments that are above it now?
Oh,
You
well,
mean
yeah.
make it
I didn't-
taller?
I didn't drive by it to look, so I didn't realize they already were there.
There are apartments
Okay.
above it.
Okay, but that concept. And then the third one is residential density restrictions. And this is in response to, the very first finding from the housing needs assessment, which was almost the entire housing stock in this town consists of large houses on large lots. And addressing that are 2 recommendations. Recommendation 2.2 is to consider reducing some of the larger minimum lot sizes in the R1 and R2 districts. And secondly, 2.4, relaxing the dimensional standards, including frontage, setback, and lot coverage requirements in the NR, R1, and R2 districts. And, the rationale is if you relax some of those requirements, it can reduce development costs, control road maintenance by allowing shorter roads to serve the same number of households. It would also bring more homes into conformity in the villages and other sections of town where the housing stock predates the current zoning ordinances. So those are mine. I guess I would propose that we circulate minutes before the next meeting and everybody has more time to think about this, to reflect on what's been thrown out there, to think if they want to add things, especially for our newest members who didn't really have much time to go through that report. So we take this up as a continuing item of the next meeting.
Jack, can I ask for clarification on a couple of yours?
Yeah.
You said to change the conservation subdivision to allow cottage courts.
Yes.
Why would that not be allowed now? What do you mean? What would the change be?
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert, but I don't think the way it's currently written, it allows for that kind of density, like Jamie was describing, where you might have, 15 homes on 2 acres or something. I suspect that's not allowed.
You can,
Can you?
yes.
So,
Unofficially, I am looking at multiple units on a piece of land that qualifies for the conservation subdivision ordinance as currently written.
so are Dean and I calling for something when we say we want cottage courts that you think already is permissible under the current zoning?
I think there needs to be a clarification of it,
Okay.
because those are not sharing walls.
Right. Right.
So right now, you can put in multifamily, as long as you're meeting the parameters. of it.
Yes, but I'm saying, can you put in 30 tiny homes?
I don't think we've addressed tiny homes yet.
Well,
So he means
it's not-
cottage.
But
Yeah,
in general, because they are separate homes. And we haven't discussed that yet, so that would need to be clarified by Karen to see if we could. It's not really defined right now.
yeah. See, I think we need language, but
I do too.
but I'm not the expert. I would definitely start with Karen.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if the conservation, I'd have to read it again. I've read it through, but I've forgotten this detail. So the conservation subdivision allows you to build on what would be a smaller lot than would normally be allowed in that district. So if R3
Correct.
required 2.75 acres, if you do a conservation subdivision, you can put your houses on something smaller than that, but is there a lower limit? You're suggesting that there isn't necessarily?
Well, the density formula, right? So this is where my brain is getting confused,
Correct.
is the density formula. And so the question would be to Karen R to clarify, like
Yeah.
what is the most number of houses you could put on it based off of what have you, right? And I do agree that we'd run into, we wouldn't be able to get the volume on there that we're thinking of.
Right.
So let's use an example of you have a 10-acre lot. 50% of that is categorized as the conservation area,
Excluding wetlands, right?
excluding wetlands, correct? With the remaining 5 acres, you could possibly get a yield of 11 units.
About a half an acre.
11 contiguous, 3 buildings, 11 contiguous, they share a wall. They're
Oh,
not
you're talking
individual
townhouse type.
townhouse type
Okay.
or multifamily, which is
Condo,
rental.
whatever.
Which sounds like recommendation 3.3 about providing clear guidance about exactly the style you're talking about, right?
Well, that's on attached single-family homes, attached, so that's
However,
townhouse.
the caveat is townhomes wouldn't necessarily qualify. This would have to go through an attorney because the difference between a condo and a townhouse is if you own a townhouse, you own the entire building, including the outside and the land that it sits on. Condo, you only own the inside space and not the land, and then multifamily is owned by one entity.
Right.
So I'm just gonna suggest that we note here that we would need to consult with Karen about this, but my recommendation and belief is that we would need some new language to allow for the kind of cottage courts that Jamie described and Dina's thinking about and I'm thinking about. So
And
that's,
in all cases, right, the more ambiguous it is, or the more you have to piece it together, the less likely
Yeah.
you are to pursue it. So
okay. All right, that's all I got. I think we've gone around. Everybody, does anybody want to add anything or revisit anything?
I just want to mention something I read today. As you know, I have a concern about reduced density. And I haven't seen evidence that it will reduce the prices. I mean, what you're suggesting in Keene, was it?
Keene.
Outside Keene?
Yes. No,
Well,
it's in the village.
yeah, 1,200 square foot house selling for 400 to 500 range. I don't think is necessarily all that affordable. And I was
We've
just,
had this discussion so many times, Catherine.
I just want to point something out I read today that
Okay.
goes to this, and then I will be quiet about it.
Okay,
There was a house that was advertised recently in the south end of Concord on a 1/5 acre lot, which is a pretty small lot.
mhm.
And it was not under construction yet. It's going to be built this summer. But there was the design showing and the 1/5 of an acre, and it sold for over $1 million. So I don't believe, and I haven't seen any evidence to the contrary, that if we reduce density, that's going to be dropping the prices significantly.
Okay, so first of
Well,
all.
I'm
we
done
want-
with that.
First of all, we want to increase density, not reduce it. We want more density in
Well,
town.
I misspoke on that.
Okay. B, you know, you keep pointing to individual examples and you're missing the bigger picture, which is the economy has a supply curve and a demand curve for housing. And if, as a whole, the state increases the supply of housing, according to the laws of economics, when you add a lot of supply, prices are reduced. So you can point to any individual project and say, gee, you created a 4-unit building in Hopkinton and they all sold for 500,000. So obviously this doesn't work. And I just don't think that is the right way of looking at it. It's a bigger question of increasing supply broadly. And so you're never going to find evidence that any particular project, other perhaps than manufactured homes, will bring you lower cost homes in this town.
I'm not missing the concept of supply and demand. I understand that completely.
But you're denying it by insisting, that by citing one example of one house.
It's not
one
one.
lot.
We saw Cottage Court in Concord. We saw one in Hills in Peterborough, and they're still selling for
But that's
over
not the point.
500,000. And
not the
the
point.
state has now produced more than 25,000 additional housing
We're
units.
short 60,000 units by 2030.
We're on track with the 25,000. That is almost
No,
exactly.
we're not. I'm with the agency that wrote that report. We're not on track. We are behind.
We are almost
not
on
gonna
track.
produce 60,000 new units of housing by 2030. Read the report.
And what do you think happens with the silver tsunami that's coming? Because it is coming.
I don't know. How is,
Then we have a glut of housing. And what does that do to people's equity?
Catherine, there's no one who's studied this that is worried we're going to end up with a glut of housing. Right now, we have a nationwide shortage of housing, estimated to be between 5 million and 7 million units of housing. It took a long time to get to this point. It's going to take a long time to get out of this. I am under no illusions that anything this committee does in the next 5 years is going to drop the prices dramatically of housing in Hopkinton. It is a long-term process. It is a regional and statewide process. And so it is a matter of increasing the supply over time. It'd be great if we could do something really fast. That's not how it's going to work in this town or any other town. It is a gradual and incremental process. But I don't know anybody out there who studies housing that doesn't think we don't need to add supply at this point. In particular, in New Hampshire, we've gone through the slides. I've identified everybody from the BIA to nonprofits to banks to regional planning commissions to the Business and Economic Authority. There is unanimity that the state is experiencing a housing crisis because there is a dire shortage of housing. And we can argue this again and again and again, but it's not going to change that. And I just think we need to move on. The mission of this committee is to increase the supply of housing in Hopkinton.
Well, it never was that.
It is that. It is that. And then
No,
you
that
heard
was
that,
not.
you heard that from a member of the select board. You brought this
From
up.
one member of the select
From-
board, that had not been the mission.
So
We're doing nothing but trying to change zoning.
mission.
And I think we're derelict in our duty because that is not what the people have.
Point of order,
I'm
point of order.
I'm just gonna.
We've had this conversation before.
We have.
And I fully support both of you continuing the conversation outside of the committee meeting. And I want to be mindful of everyone's time. I believe we've finished the prioritization conversation, and I would love to be here for the end of the meeting to shut everything down for y'all.
I agree. Let's move on to board and committee updates. Dawn, you want to go?
Sure. Just to say that the Rotary continues to be a great support to the Human Services in town. They are doing the shopping for the food pantry. And now they have this excellent new program. It's called Got Jobs, Got Projects. And so that people in town who maybe can't afford to hire someone or can't find a handy man, woman to do things, the Rotary steps in And they've been working on projects now, so that was really pretty great, I think. Just financially, there were 58 families that used the food pantry in Hopkinton. There was $2,450 spent in food vouchers beyond food pantry use. $2,096 spent for heat. This year, this month, and $1,300 in gift cards to Colonial Village for seniors, because that's where many seniors in town shop. So there was no money that had to be dispersed this time for rent or mortgages.
Nice.
And we're planning a recognition for the food pantry volunteers on Tuesday, June 9th.
All right.
Don, do you have
Excellent.
any data on how many people in town go to the Warner Food Pantry? Because
No,
I've donated things there when we're not open, and she said she gets a lot of people from Hopkinton.
no, I don't. Maybe I can ask Lucette and see if she, if they communicate back and forth.
Planning board? Dean?
Yes, we're looking forward to seeing you on the 9th.
Yes.
Thank you for your
Anything else you want us to know? Okay.
Yeah, you talked to Karen, it looks like we're just gonna have that conversation on June 9th.
Okay. Great. Norm, anything you want to let us know about the EDC?
Yeah, so we had our meeting last night. We had Barrel and Bassett come by, talked a little bit about their business, what's going on over there. And that went really well. We have a meeting, I believe, with.
That's next up on the agenda, yeah.
Yeah, so
Go
that's.
ahead, talk about it.
Yeah, so that's coming up. We had an example, PDF that you sent over to us to review. We need a little more time to digest that. It was the first time. It was the first time, oh wow. It was the first time we had a chance to read it. So we're gonna talk about that at our next meeting, of course. Come to that one. So but yeah, that was my first meeting. I thought it was very interesting to see. Definitely need to recruit some more people for that committee, but definitely an interesting first meeting. I'm excited to be a part of it. Awesome, excited to be here too. We talked a little bit about the event that happened at the fairgrounds with Brinfield, I think it was. Talked about kind of like the logistics issues of that a little bit, of what happened and where the traffic was kind of flowing into town, and how maybe some of the businesses weren't getting much attraction from it because of the way the GPS is kind of logistic them around and everything. So
Did someone raise a concern?
there was discussions last night about it a little bit. So just
I was wondering because Beth was instrumental in the flow of traffic through town.
yeah, it was a little bit requested. I think it was more with the police too, I think he had mentioned. I'm just going through the little notes we had here.
Purely just curious, that's all.
Yeah, no, I mean, I recall that's what she said. That's what I have here in the minutes we took by recording. But she was great to hear her insight of what's been going over there, the struggles and some of the stuff with staffing and others. Just interesting. It was my first meeting, so
Yeah.
I'll have more of an update when I get my feet more wet in it. But I'm excited to also review that document with them and give you feedback.
Great.
So
Select board?
I'm literally pulling up our last agenda to be like, what did we do? Well, we have kicked off our annual department updates, department visits, and spent time this morning with Paula from the rec department and Lisette from Health and Human Services. By the way, Lisette was singing your praises, Dawn, and I was like, yes, Dawn is the best.
I don't know about that.
And Lisette is the Health and Human Services department, but she is a department of one, and the scope of her reach is made possible, as she was sharing with us, because of her incredibly active committee and the number of people who volunteer their time doing data entry and other like basic logistical work that makes the magic happen behind the scenes. So that was really cool. Beyond that, y'all, we do the boring stuff. So just continuing to get updates on the upcoming sludge removal project at the transfer station, the cap repair, the culvert repair, the sewer system. We're in it. It's good times. It's all housekeeping, but I would say like the select board reaffirmed to continue to work on our progress towards tightening up and revising a number of our policies that are just over a decade old. And so most recently, we tightened up our policy around appointments and then removals from committees because we actually didn't have a clause for removals if someone moved out of town, for instance. Like it was more of a implied versus a written down. So we'll just continue that work.
I have one more thing to
Sure.
comment. This kind of to do with housing a little bit. On the precinct side, we are actually in the process of redoing our meters for the houses on the Kentucket precinct.
Water meters?
When you say
What?
redoing, what do you
But
mean?
like we're gonna be replacing the meters. We're looking to do that. So we're able to, or as of right now, there's a significant amount of meters that are not necessarily
Are you
working.
the water commission too?
Yeah, I'm the treasurer. So,
Nice.
yeah.
You did say that earlier. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Norm.
Placed like 5 years ago.
Are you on the continue? Are you on the, yeah, there's a couple that there's gonna be a replacement at some point. We interviewed a couple places for them, which is exciting, and the plan is to continue that approach. I know we have a couple new units that are that's installed, potentially gonna be installed to test these new ones that we have. So I think that's good. It'll be really good for the home buyers to be able to actually log on in real time and see their actual usage. As you know, it is very difficult sometimes to get into a home to replace them.
Right.
And so this will help, I think, bring, in my opinion, only me speaking, hopefully additional more revenue in real time to the precinct that will actually be real, appropriately measured instead of it being an estimate. So, but that's just,
That's really phenomenal news.
yeah, no, it is.
So, what-
Yeah, you know, you know, I've been on the precinct for, you know, 7 months now. So I'm excited to hear that we are actually going to be moving forward with that because there are some meters that are not being read appropriately at houses. And that's been documented publicly many times. And I think having this be fixed is a good thing for the town of Hopkinton in order to have real meters and working fashion is important. Don't worry, Jack, we'll look at yours very carefully.
All right. Great.
Sorry if that wasn't on an update, but I just think
No, no.
it has to do with housing, so.
All good stuff.
Yep.
Item number 8 on the agenda, which you just mentioned briefly, just to give the committee context, I sat down and met with Ian Hart, who's the chair of the EDC, a few weeks ago to talk about what both of our committees do and whether we have, you know, some mutual interests, whether there's opportunities for collaboration. We came up with a plan for a joint meeting, and I just confirmed with Ian yesterday that he and the members of the EDC will join us for our meeting in August. Our last item is public comment. Is there anybody online who wants to speak?
No.
Okay, great. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn immediately.
Second?
Second.
Wait, like 7 people just said second. Who am I picking? Nick, I heard you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
That was fun.
All right, thanks, everybody. Oh, when's the next meeting date?
A good day. July 2nd.
All right.
I think so.
Do we have that really?
Can I propose we
that?
look at availability for the 9th?
Let's take a look. So you're right, it is July 2nd. Is that problematic for folks?
It's problematic for me, but I'm just.
I just want to double check. Does this mean that we are still in session or does it hold that we have left the meeting? Since we
We've left-
adjourned?
we've left.
We've left the
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah.
Bye, Zoom. Have a great night if you watch this.